Welcome to It's Nebraska, and for some reason I'm trying to pretend that it's not really cold out here. And the snow is melting, so what am I doing? I am going to teach you how to make indoor snowballs. Or you can make a little pom-pom, which works, but it doesn't have quite the heft. So as you can see, it kind of fell before it even got to the camera. So let me show you how to crochet an indoor snowball. So you have some options when it comes to which yarn you use to crochet your indoor snowball. Today we're going to be using this one. This is a regular worsted weight yarn, but once you know what you're doing, then you can use some really fun yarns that you can find at your local craft stores. This one is a hairy yarn, and it looks really cool as a snowball. But our favorite, which we all voted on, is this fluffy yarn. So what you need to keep in mind if you're going to use some fancy yarn is that because they're so fluffy or hairy, the fluff and hair will keep you from being able to see exactly where your next stitch is. So if you're just learning, it's best to try it on just a kind of a normal regular yarn where you can actually see where you're going next. Here's a close-up of what the regular yarn looks like. You'll see the different rows, you'll see where we start and where we ended. And today, what we're going to do, just to make it a little bit easier to see, I'm going to use a colored yarn, just so you can follow along a little bit more easily. So to get started, I take a little bit of the tail, and I'm going to tie a little slip knot here and tighten it. And then I'm going to put my hook. This is a G, but you can use a larger hook or a smaller hook. The larger your hook, the bigger the stitches will be. So just keep that in mind. So I tightened this just a little bit onto the hook. And then here is the end tail, which I'm just going to hold off to the side. And here is the part that's attached to the rest of the skein of yarn. So I'm going to go in once and twice, and then I'm going to go back to, because we are crocheting in a circle today. So when you're crocheting in the round, then you keep going back to where you started from. So we'll go in there once, and then pull it through, go back to the slip knot there, poke it through, and then pull it through once, and then grab and hook and pull it through both of those. And we'll do this 6 times to start with. 6 times all the way back into that very first hole, and we'll go in once and then pull it through both, and go in once and pull it through both. I have no idea how many this was. Good thing is this is a pretty forgiving craft, so even if you miss a stitch or miscount once or twice, you're okay. So let's go in again, and we'll call that 6. So I could actually probably go back and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll do it once more. So go in, and try not to trip over my own tail. Pull it through once, and then go through there. So this is what it looks like when you first get started. For your next 2 rows, you're going to be increasing, which basically means you're going to put 2 stitches in each stitch that's already there. So we're gonna pop that in. Some people only go through 1, that's totally okay. I do go through both. And then I'm gonna pull through and pull through. And then I'm going to go back to that same, and I'm gonna do a second one. Pull through and then through. So that's 2 stitches, so we'll be going around 12 times while we're increasing here, because we had 6 before. So, and keep increasing. I lost count because I got interrupted there, but I think this is probably 4. 1, and in, pull through, loop up, and then pull through and go through both. And I think I have 2 there in that stitch. You can always kind of pull it apart and look to see how many stitches you have, just in case you get interrupted as well. So go through and 1, and 2 and 1 and 2. Some people use a stitch marker to tell where they started from. I kind of gauge off of where my tail is, because that's where I started from, is where the tail is. And so then I always know once I reach that point that I'm back at the beginning. So just in case, that's a good cheat to figure out where you started from. And so this is how you increase when you are crocheting in the round. So that one only has 1, as you can see, and so here's the second. Keep going around and through, and I'm almost back to the beginning, because you can see right there is my tail. And I think this will be my last of the first row of increase. So you have a nice spiral, just like a snail shell, and then we're going to increase again to make a fairly large indoor snowball. So I will see you in a minute after I've gone around again. Now if you want like a half-size snowball, then one thing you can do, depending on the weight of your yarn, it'll change the size of your snowball. So if you want a half size, then I do 1, and then in the next one I increase and do the 2 stitches, and then in the next one I do 1 and then 2 in the next. So that way it's not getting terribly large. Nice half size. I think, let me grab, I have these 2 snowballs here to show you that this one I did a half and this one I did a whole, so you have a much larger snowball and then a smaller one. I'm losing my sunlight here, so we're going to skip ahead and pretend that I have already done both of those increase rows. And so then what do? Then you just do a single crochet in each of the stitches of the row below it, or to the inside since we're crocheting it around. So, oops. And if you miss one, just pull it back out and start over. Try to keep your stitches the same tension and just keep going around and around and around and around and around. And you will see that it starts to curl over on itself as you do this. And once you have a nice, maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches in your center, then what we're going to do once you have that shape, then we're going to learn how to decrease. Okay, I'm just making a teeny tiny baby green snowball here. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to learn how to decrease. So I'm going to pop this into the next thread, and then I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to pop it into the one after it, pull up, and I'm going to go through all of them. So that is how you decrease. And then, because we only want to do this gradually, then I'll do a single crochet in between, and then the next one I'll go in one, in the next, pull through, and then pull through all of them and decrease there. And then in the next, do a single crochet and then a decrease, because this will gradually close off your snowball, just like, I think this side might be the end of it. So it'll start to look like this. Once you have just a really small opening, you'll stuff it with your fiberfil, and then you'll completely decrease just the last 5 or 6 stitches in order to close it off and tie it shut. So this is about the point here where you'd want to stuff it, and then once you have it stuffed, then you'll go ahead and you'll decrease the rest of the way until it is shut, because if you do a bunch of decreases all in a row, you'll notice that this will shut pretty quickly here. So, in one, in the next, pull through all of them, in one, In the next, pull through all of them. And one. In the next and pull through. And as you can see, that's closing off quickly. One, two, and through. And then this will probably be the last stitch, which, since I only have a tiny amount, I would pull through both, not even bother to decrease. And with the fiberfil, of course, it would have more shape to it. And then cut off your tail, and then pull your tail through once you've cut it off, and pull it tight. And then you can tie it around a couple more times, and then you'll tuck both of your tails in. Unless you decide that you like, usually I do flip this inside out. So you can decide which side, when you're crocheting, which side you prefer. And you can either flip it inside out before you stuff it, or, because you can see there's two very different stitches there. Here's a quick tip. If you're going to be crocheting outside in December, don't stand in a mud puddle because your feet will get very cold. Welcome to this episode of It's Nebraska, and there's a blizzard. Aw, man, I wasn't done filming the indoor snowball fight tutorial. I guess we'll be having outdoor snowball fights now, so I guess I don't need to finish. The Nebraska weather finally got to me and forced me inside. And to think, it was less than 48 hours ago that I was outside, standing in a mud puddle, filming how to make indoor snowballs, and now you can just hop outside and go make an outdoor snowball. I'm going to show you something kind of sad and useful, kind of fun. So, I need to figure out how much yarn to send in our take and make kits. I have no idea how much this is, but this is just about a completed snowball in the green color I used for filming. So how do I measure that? Or what do you do if you look at it and you're like, ooh, I really messed up somewhere? Well, here's the fun thing. Just take your tail and start pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and look at it disappear. It's like magic. And just like that, in less than 30 seconds, this entire thing that I spent time crocheting in order to show you how to do it, this whole thing, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, oops, it's done. Wow, so all of you are gonna get about 20 arm lengths of yarn in your take and make kit. So anyone who's doing this at home and wants to parse out the yarn to different people ahead of time, about 20 arm lengths. So we're talking a good 3 feet times 20. So you do the math, because not gonna happen. I've always told you, I don't measure.